Do inventory equals count all the things. One of my former managers was a piece of work. A piece of something else too. But that will be apparent later, I think. I don't know if the owners realized she wasn't great at her job or if it was just nepotism. But a man was hired as a favor to his grandmother, and he now had the pleasure of having my manager report to him. She was mad and petty about it. But not good enough pettiness to count as petty revenge. One day he decided she needed to inventory what we had on hand, which we had not done in the 2 years I worked there. Again, she resents that he is making decisions and she has to comply. She does. But in a way the rest of us resented too. We do inventory but not the logical way. We don't say there are 4 cases of this and half a case of that. We say there are 1,000 packets that we had to count individually. So instead of taking an hour to do inventory, it took 3 employees a whole day. He got what he wanted, but it was a stupid power play from both sides and cost lots of man-hours to do it. Edit. Wording. I am more shocked that you haven't done inventory in 2 years. I mean, inventory is a pretty important thing to have control of though. Not sure that's malicious compliance unless she didn't understand what inventory is. TBF, counting all the things is what an inventory count is. Face with rolling eyes. Had the same thing happen when working at a store for a hardware chain. New regional manager wanted a physical count of every item. I asked if we could weigh things like the nuts and bolts that were loose in big bins and calculate an approximate number. Was told no. Everything must be counted. Okay. Getting paid double time to do the stocktake out of business hours, so why not? Took around 8 hours to do what normally took 3. Got paid 2 days' wages to sit around and count bolts and free pizza for volunteering. Yearly inventory is mandatory to German businesses by law. Make sure to count everything twice by 2 different people. If 2 counts differ, then count it again, maybe with a 3rd person. 2 years? Dear God. You need to do annual inventory to keep track of costs for accounting purposes. When end of years for a business can vary, but it's how you track expenses for that financial year. You know that inventory stocktakes are about getting an actual correct figure, not half a case of X. This wasn't malicious compliance, this was actual compliance. Be lucky you're not in a store. The store closed 1 day a year to make a complete inventory of every item in the store. Take everything from the shelves. Clean the shelves. Look behind and under the shelves. Check every product which has a date. Count the products you put back. Count the products that are over date. And the store was kinda like Sears. I feel like this is you guys being lazy and jealous. Sounds like the guy is good at good job asking for inventory and actually trying to make the place better. I don't see the malicious part. Manager wanted inventory done, and your team did it correctly. Op maliciously complies with inventory by doing inventory. Discovers doing inventory is labor-intensive and time-consuming. Film at 11. After retirement I got a seasonal job working for a company that would buy parts in large quantities, then sell those parts in small quantities. For example, buy a box of 10,000 screws and sell bags of 5 screws at a much higher price per screw. I worked during their busy season. When my immediate manager was gone, he would give me a batch of work to do before he left. Then, a lady who worked in the office, not out in the warehouse, would come out periodically to check on me, then go back into the air conditioning. Not a big deal. Until she discovered me counting a box of screws. She asked what I was doing. I explained that the scale would find the average of a sample of screws that I counted. Then determine, by the weight of the screws in the box, how many screws we had received. Oh, you have to hand count the screws to make sure we got the correct amount of screws. I tried to explain that my manager counted boxes of small parts too. Nope. I had to have an exact count or the inventory numbers would be wrong. I tried to explain that the company usually sent a couple of hundred more screws than on the label, because they counted the boxes before they sent them and didn't want to short us on screws. Nope. I tried to explain that even if we were shorted 100 screws, the cost of those screws was a lot less than my pay for the time it would take to hand count the entire box. Nope. So I told her I'd count the screws after I counted another box of parts. These were larger parts, more expensive per piece, which we always counted by hand. After I got those counted, and she was back in air conditioning, I finished counting the screws and wrote down an exact number about halfway between the label amount and the count amount. She came out at the end of my shift, checked my count, smiled, and went back into air conditioning. A couple more times over the next few months I had to play this game whenever she was in charge. The next year, when I returned, she was gone from the company. She had gotten in some kind of argument with someone in management over correct procedures, and was let go. I mean, it kinda sounds like the employees got the short end on this one. That's how you're supposed to do inventory. Like you don't count cases unless the entire case is what sells. A mechanic shop doesn't count one box of nuts. They count how many nuts they have. Inventory is supposed to take up to a week depending on how big your store is, and it's supposed to be done every year. It helps you understand your shrink. Did inventory every year for 50 years. Had to count every single item. It wasn't the dollar value that was important to my department, but not having a part in stock that the computer shows as being there means a technician has taken a car apart and there's no part to fix it. His it tied up. The service advisor has to call the customer to tell them they can't have their car back until tomorrow, etc. Shit rolls downhill and it affects everyone in the service parts department as well as the customer. Inventory is important. Hey, that's what he asked for. Tears of joy. Rookie numbers. I used to work in a stock-taking team, and we had a 2-year schedule to check the 118K different items in the military warehouse. Then we were deployed to a foreign country and had to take a 100% stocktake before the warehouse was shipped to the theater, stored on shelves in ISO containers. Approximately 8 days. 2 shifts working 12 hours each. 15 people on each shift. This is normally what most retail establishments consider doing inventory. It almost sounds to me like this guy might have had more of a clue on what should be happening than the manager. Man shrugging. Wow, not done inventory in 2 years? Last place I worked at stocktake was a weekly thing. They were anal about it to the point that we had a guy input the statistics into a computer program. And the end of every day.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.